Step away from the vehicle now. Hands where I can see them.
When Darius Cole, a black man and U.S. Marshal, moved into his new neighborhood, he expected peace and quiet, not a full-blown war with an HOA that believed they owned him. From the very first day, he rolled into Silver Ridge Estates in his Porsche. Trouble found him in the form of Carla Benson, the so-called vice president of the Homeowners Association. Carla decided instantly that she despised him. She slapped him with fines, sent threats, and made it clear she didn't think he belonged there. What started as petty complaints escalated fast. It began with warnings, then vandalism, and finally fake HOA cops trying to steal his car. What they didn't know was that Darius Cole wasn't the kind of man you could intimidate. He was a U.S. Marshal, and he didn't take kindly to threats. Silver Ridge Estates looked picture-perfect on the surface. Trimmed lawns, neat mailboxes, kids on bikes. But perfection is often a mask, and Darius learned that the hard way. The first time he met Carla, she wore a smile so artificial it could have come with a warning label. "We have standards here," she said, scanning him up and down like he was already a violation. From that moment, Carla hated him, not because of anything he did, but because she couldn't control him. The fines began almost immediately. The first accused him of parking his Porsche incorrectly, even though it sat neatly in his own driveway. The second claimed his grass was too long, despite having been mowed just 2 days earlier. Then came another for leaving his trash bins out too long, though he'd pulled them in within an hour of pickup. Darius tried to reason with them at the next HOA meeting. Carla sat at the head of the table, flanked by her loyal board members. He dropped a stack of fines in front of her and said, "Carla, I've followed every rule here. These fines are bogus." She smirked, tapping her pen against the table. "Rules are rules," she replied smoothly. "If you can't handle them, maybe this community isn't a good fit for you." That wasn't advice, it was a threat wrapped in politeness. Darius kept calm on the surface, but deep down he knew this was only the beginning. A week later, Darius Cole realized Carla's harassment wasn't stopping, it was escalating. One crisp morning, when Darius stepped out to head for work, he froze. Every tire on his Porsche had been slashed, deep, jagged cuts through the sidewalls. A single note sat tucked beneath the windshield wiper. "Next time we take it." His chest tightened. The air felt heavier. This wasn't about grass or trash cans anymore. It was personal, organized intimidation. Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe that no one should be bullied out of their own home, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because standing up to fake authority starts with telling these stories. He didn't waste a second. Darius photographed everything, the tires, the note, the timestamps from his doorbell camera, and called the sheriff's office. Deputy Harris arrived, took one look, and frowned. He warned Darius, "These people aren't amateurs if they're escalating. Keep your cameras running." Darius filed the official report anyway. He knew Carla would play innocent, smiling for the neighbors while pretending she knew nothing. But that note said it all. Carla and her fake little empire wouldn't stop until they broke him or drove him out. What Carla didn't understand was that Darius Cole wasn't built to scare. He dealt with far worse. As a U.S. Marshal, he'd faced fugitives and crime rings. A suburban bully didn't even scratch the surface. Still, he didn't underestimate her. He documented every fine, every conversation, every sneer. He prepared. At the next HOA meeting, Darius walked in calm but ready. He laid the police report and the photos right on the table. Carla sat there like she was hosting a show, her lips stretched into that same artificial smile. "Someone slashed your tires." "That's awful," she said, voice syrupy and fake. "But you're making enemies by calling out neighbors." Darius's tone dropped like steel. "Or you're making victims by looking the other way." The room went silent. A few residents shifted in their chairs, eyes lowered. He caught an older neighbor giving him a tiny nod of agreement. Fear ruled that place. Everyone knew it. Carla didn't deny a thing. She thrived on ambiguity, keeping her hands clean while others did the dirty work. That night, Darius doubled down. Motion lights, new cameras angled toward the driveway, automatic cloud backups. This wasn't paranoia. It was insurance. And that insurance would soon pay off because the next move came not under cover of darkness, but in broad daylight. At exactly 2:15 p.m. that Thursday, Darius Cole's phone buzzed. His security system had triggered a motion alert. He opened the feed, and his stomach clenched. A white SUV sat idling in his driveway. Three men climbed out wearing reflective vests with the words Neighborhood Compliance Task Force stenciled across the back. One carried a heavy tow hook, another a toolbox. They moved with precision, like they'd done this before. Without knocking, without a word, they went straight for his Porsche, removing the license plate and setting up to attach a wheel clamp. Darius stepped out onto the porch, calm but coiled. His right hand stayed behind his back, resting lightly on the grip of his concealed service pistol, a precaution, not a threat. He descended the steps slowly, eyes fixed on the men. "Hey," Darius called out, his voice cutting through the afternoon air. Two of the men froze. The third, clearly the leader, turned with a smirk meant to intimidate. "Official HOA enforcement," he announced. "You're in violation. We're impounding the vehicle." Darius kept walking. On what authority? His tone stayed even, deliberate. The sound of his boots hitting the porch echoed like a metronome between them. One man flashed a laminated badge on a clip. Even from a few steps away, Darius could see it was fake, cheap plastic, and bad lamination. He stopped 3 paces short. Slowly, Darius reached inside his jacket, revealing the gold star pinned at his waist, the U.S. Marshal badge glinting in the sunlight. The smirks vanished instantly. Darius adjusted his jacket just enough for the butt of his pistol to be visible, not brandished. Just there, quiet and clear. It was a warning, not a threat. The leader scoffed anyway. "You're not a cop?" he sneered. "This is HOA business." "Try me," Darius said softly, the words razor sharp. Tension rippled through the air. The second man tightened his grip on the tow apparatus, body taut like a coiled spring. Behind them, Darius's driveway camera captured every second, every badge, every move, every face. "Drop the tools," Darius ordered quietly. "Walk away." They laughed. That was their mistake. The man with the crowbar stepped forward, swinging hard toward Darius's ribs. The motion was wild, committed. Training kicked in before thought. As the crowbar cut through the air, Darius Cole moved. Years of martial training took over, no hesitation, no wasted motion. He pivoted into the strike, deflecting it with his forearm and turning the attacker's momentum against him. In the same motion, he drew his sidearm and fired once, controlled and precise. The shot hit the man's thigh, dropping him instantly with a shout of pain. Non-lethal, but enough to end the threat. The other two rushed forward, yelling curses and swinging tools like weapons. Darius met them head-on, calm as a man defusing a bomb. The first grabbed a wrench. Darius caught his wrist, twisted hard, and wrenched it backward until the snap echoed across the driveway. The man screamed, collapsing in agony. The third lunged, and Darius drove a shoulder into his chest, tackling him backward. They hit the pavement hard. Darius slammed the man's head once, twice, until his resistance melted into stillness. Seconds stretched like minutes, but it was over fast. The entire scene had been captured on his driveway camera. Every move, every blow, every fake badge gleaming under the afternoon sun. Neighbors started pouring out of their homes, drawn by the sound of the gunshot. Phones rose like a forest of judgment. The man Darius had shot was screaming, clutching his leg. The other two lay twisted on the ground, moaning and bleeding. Darius stood over them, breathing steady, gun lowered, but ready. 3 minutes later, flashing red and blue lights cut through the street. Sheriff Dalton's cruiser pulled in fast. Deputies fanned out, securing the suspects and calling for medics. Darius stepped forward calmly, pulling his badge again. "U.S. Marshal," he said. "No drama, just fact." The deputies already had the footage streaming on a tablet. It was undeniable. The men were cuffed and loaded into the cruiser. Crowbars, tow chains, vests, and fake badges were seized as evidence. Medics treated the wounded. One had a severed femoral branch, but survived. Sheriff investigators followed Darius up his driveway to his cloud backups. The footage was crystal clear, time-stamped, high definition, undeniable. Within 48 hours, the truth unraveled. Money trails, Venmo payments, and text messages linked the attackers straight back to Carla Benson. One message sealed her fate: handle the Porsche, teach him to leave. The investigation tore through Silver Ridge Estates like a storm. Within 2 days, the evidence against Carla Benson was overwhelming. Bank transfers, messages, and her signature on payment invoices, tying her directly to the hired men. The sheriff's office moved quickly. Carla was arrested and charged with solicitation, conspiracy, and HOA fraud, while the three enforcers faced impersonating law enforcement, attempted grand theft auto, and assault with a deadly weapon. When the trial began, the courtroom was packed with neighbors who had once looked the other way. Now, they couldn't avoid the truth. The video from Darius Cole's driveway camera played for the jury, every second of it brutal and clear. The fake badges, the crowbar swing, the assault, and Darius's calm, controlled response. It was impossible to twist or deny. Witnesses testified, neighbors who'd seen Carla's pattern of harassment, the endless fines, the threats whispered at meetings. One by one, they spoke up, some trembling, others ashamed they hadn't before. The verdict came fast. The jury found Carla Benson guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to 30 months in state prison, ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution to Darius for property damage, emotional distress, and legal fees, plus another $50,000 in civil penalties to the county for abuse of HOA authority. The three hired thugs each took plea deals, admitting guilt to impersonation and attempted grand theft. They were given prison time and ordered to pay restitution. The so-called HOA crumbled overnight. Board members resigned, lawsuits piled up, and a court-appointed receiver stepped in to rebuild the association from the ground up. Darius filed his own civil suit for harassment and damages. The case settled for $75,000 plus attorney's fees. Carla's house went into lien and was eventually sold to satisfy judgments. Through it all, Darius Cole never left. He stayed in the same home on the same quiet street with the same Porsche parked proudly in his driveway. The cameras stayed running, the backups stayed secure. He wasn't driven out, he wasn't broken. He was the proof that fake authority crumbles in the face of real justice. They thought they could bully a black man who just wanted peace. What they didn't realize was that Darius Cole was a U.S. Marshal, trained, unshaken, and very much the wrong man to target, because you don't send fake cops to take what isn't yours. If you believe in standing up to fake authority and fighting back with facts, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because real power doesn't come from control, it comes from integrity.